So to unhitch the trailer, you're going to do it in a routine. The first thing that's going to go on is the handbrake. All right. The last thing that's going to go off is the breakaway cable. So we'll start off at this end first, handbrake on. Then we'll lower the jockey wheel. Now because it's ribbed, we have to make sure it's at an angle and it's tight. Okay? Because what will happen is you could potentially fail if you start to raise the trailer off the hitch and it drops. So just make sure that it's in their position like that. Our clip goes out. You need to hold onto the handle and then you raise it. Give it a nice clearance. You don't want to see a massive amount, but then you don't want to stick your hand underneath there, because if you stick your hand underneath there and it drops because of the ribbed jockey wheel, then you're going to lose your fingers. I always put the R clip back in, only because of tidiness. Electrics come out, and then the breakaway cable comes off, and I always clip it back into there. Hitching it back up, what you'll have to do is you do exactly the same opposite. So the first thing to go on with the breakaway cable, last thing to go off is the handbrake. But when you're doing this manoeuvre, or this procedure, what you have to do as well is you have to then drive forward, pull up the side of the trailer. The examiner might say, imagine that this isn't your trailer, you've come to collect it. So before you hitch it up, you do a walk around check. So your walk around check would start off with a handbrake. Check that it's on by a visual and a physical check, and you give the trailer a little bit of a shove to make sure the brakes are working. Then you walk around checking everything that we need to check. So when you've driven forward and then reversed up the trailer, we want to be up at this position here. This and the ball needs to be no more than 5 centimetres. Now because this car has reversing cameras, you can get it spot on. If you have a vehicle that doesn't have reversing cameras, then it's about looking at reference points, thinking about where we can see the hitch and what we can see at the back window if there's a back window, or what we can see with our mirrors. Now this, you are allowed several attempts to get it in the correct position if you haven't got reversing cameras, and again you're allowed exactly the same if you do have reversing cameras. If you are within the 5 centimetres but it's not quite there, you are allowed to move the trailer. But to move the trailer you need to make sure that it's safe. So to move the trailer, what you would do, breakaway cable, electrics on, handbrake off, move the trailer, handbrake back on to secure the trailer, and then you can do all your hitching procedure. So your hitching procedure, like I said, first thing to go on is your breakaway cable. Depending on which tow bar mounting that you have, you are supposed to use the metal brackets underneath. So you have metal brackets underneath that has holes for it to go into, but because this one's a nice long neck, I can use that. No examiner has said anything about it. Electrics go in. And then you lower it. Don't need to hold on to the handle because it's already up. Lower it down. Now with this it will click in like that, and we can see that we've got a green on here and a green on the handle. What you are then expected to do, you're then expected to wind it back up until we can see the back of the car starting to lift. Now it's difficult from this angle because you can't see it a lot. You probably see a lot more if you stood at the side. But the jockey wheel itself does go heavy, so we know that it's lifting the car. Lower it back down. Jockey wheel all the way up. There is a little there's a little slot for the jockey wheel to go in to stop it from moving around, so now it won't move around. We'll just make sure it's in there. Wind it back to there, our clip goes back in. Jockey wheel all the way up, and again you make sure it's tight. Last thing to go off is the handbrake. And then you have to check that the lights are working. It's very easy to fail at this point if you don't check the lights. Some driving examiners will say to you, are you sure you're happy? So what they expect you to check is the indicators and the brake lights. So you can do the indicators just by pressing the hazard lights. You walk around the vehicle and the trailer to make sure that they're on, and then you'll ask the examiner to check the brake lights for you. And that is that.